Imagine this. A sovereign African nation invests $30 million in cutting-edge drone technology to monitor and protect its borders from terrorist threats. It's a step towards regional security and national pride. But before long, that very drone is shot out of the sky. Not by insurgents or enemies of peace, but by a neighboring African state. This is not fiction. This is the true story of Mali and Algeria, two African nations with a shared history, now facing off in a silent and dangerous standoff that could ignite a broader conflict across the Sahel. This is not just about a drone. It's about betrayal, resources, geopolitics, and a clash of ideologies. It's about modern-day puppets and power plays, all cloaked in the language of diplomacy. And above all, it begs the question, who is really destabilizing Africa and why? When we talk about Africa's suffering, colonialism, war, and slavery, it's easy to point fingers at the West. But history, when examined closely, reveals a darker truth. During the transatlantic slave trade, it wasn't European invaders storming villages with shackles in hand. In many cases, it was African chiefs and local opportunists who sold their own people in exchange for weapons, cloth, or coin. That same betrayal exists today, albeit in different clothing. Instead of chains and boats, we now have geopolitical games, foreign-backed puppet regimes, and military actions that echo with treachery. Many of today's African leaders have simply replaced the shackles with contracts and the slave ships, with economic partnerships that benefit a few at the expense of many. So, when Mali's newly acquired drone was shot down by Algeria, the event struck a deep nerve. It wasn't just military aggression, it was symbolic of something far more sinister. On the night spanning March 31st to April 1st, 2025, a Malian Bayraktar Akinci drone, valued at $30 million, was conducting a routine surveillance mission along the northern border with Algeria. This drone, one of just two acquired by Mali, was part of the country's intensified efforts to combat terrorism in the volatile Sahel region. Then, without warning, Algerian forces launched a surface-to-air missile, obliterating the drone. Algeria claimed the drone violated its airspace by about 2 kilometers. Mali, on the other hand, insisted the drone never left Malian airspace and was in fact 10 kilometers inside its own borders when it was destroyed. But here's the critical detail. The wreckage of the drone was found approximately 9 kilometers within Mali's territory. If the drone had truly entered Algerian airspace by 2 kilometers, how did its debris end up so far on the Malian side? The evidence speaks for itself. Algeria likely crossed a red line, and the reason may not be just about borders. To understand Algeria's motivations, one must revisit the region's turbulent history, especially involving the Tuareg people. The Tuaregs are a nomadic ethnic group spread across northern Mali, Niger, Algeria, and Libya. Since the 1960s, they have periodically rebelled against the Malian government, seeking independence for a region they call Azawad. In 2012, the Tuareg rebellion escalated into full-blown conflict, only to be hijacked by Islamist extremists. Algeria played the role of mediator, brokering the Algiers Accord in 2015. While the deal was hailed as a peace initiative, Mali viewed it with suspicion, considering it a threat to its territorial integrity. Following a military coup in 2021, Colonel Assimi Goïta came to power in Mali and pivoted toward Russian support, notably enlisting the Wagner Group to help recapture rebel-held towns like Kidal. In the aftermath, many Tuareg rebel commanders fled to Algeria, where they reportedly found safe haven. This created new tensions. Mali accused Algeria of harboring and supporting militias who continued to plan attacks across the border. But why would Algeria, a fellow African nation, allegedly shelter rebel leaders? The answer, as always, may lie beneath the sand. Northern Mali is not just a desert, it's a treasure chest. The region holds vast reserves of gold, iron, cobalt, and lithium, minerals critical for the global tech and electric vehicle industries. Mali is already the third largest gold producer in Africa, and the demand for lithium and cobalt is only set to rise. Algeria, too, understands the economic potential of these resources. Back in 2007, its state oil company was granted exploration rights in parts of northern Mali. Since then, Algeria has pushed to maintain dominance over the region. That dominance, it appears, includes supporting local actors, possibly including Tuareg groups, in order to control the narrative and access to these resources. The drone, according to Malian sources, was tracking the movement of high-profile insurgents near Tenzoutine, a border town that has become a haven for militant activity. Could it be that the drone spotted something Algeria didn't want Mali or the world to see? This isn't just a two-player game. The geopolitical chessboard now involves Morocco, Niger, Burkina Faso, and even Nigeria. For decades, Algeria and Morocco have been bitter rivals. Though they share a border, it's virtually closed, and diplomatic relations remain frosty. Earlier in 2025, Mali began military cooperation with Morocco, conducting joint operations that alarmed Algeria. In the eyes of Algerian officials, Mali's friendship with Morocco is not just a security concern, it's a betrayal. And in geopolitics, the friend of my enemy becomes my enemy. Meanwhile, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have formed the Alliance of Sahel States (AES), an increasingly coordinated bloc seeking African solutions to African problems. Algeria, which previously dominated the region politically, now finds itself isolated and losing influence. Algeria's economy leans heavily on oil exports to Europe. But with reserves shrinking, the country has partnered with Nigeria to create the $30 billion Trans-Saharan pipeline, which would transport Nigerian oil northward through Niger and Mali, eventually reaching Algeria. There's just one problem. Both Niger and Mali are members of the AES and currently maintain strained relations with Algeria. Algeria opposed the formation of AES from the beginning, hoping instead to work through ECOWAS where it had more sway. Now, Algeria may be calculating that a limited conflictor threat could force Mali into a negotiation that opens the door for the pipeline's passage. But this strategy could backfire disastrously. A conflict with Mali would likely trigger a broader war involving Niger, Burkina Faso, and potentially Morocco. Despite having one of the region's largest armies, Algeria would face a formidable coalition that could fundamentally reshape power dynamics in the Sahel. This is more than a dispute over airspace. It's about sovereignty, natural resources, political influence, and the soul of African unity. If Algeria continues down this path, it risks not just diplomatic isolation, but the loss of economic lifelines and regional stability. Conversely, if Mali and its allies remain resolute, they could usher in a new era of self-determination, free from foreign manipulation and regional bullying. At Daily Post Africa, we stand firmly for African unity. We envision a continent where nations don't sabotage one another for the sake of foreign interests or fleeting power. The European Union allows free movement across borders. Why can't we as Africans afford the same freedom, trust, and solidarity? Mali and Algeria share more than just a border. They share a history, a culture, and a responsibility to lead. It's time for both nations to reconsider their paths, not for the sake of pride, but for the future of Africa. Tell us what you think in the comments. Can Mali and Algeria find common ground? Or are we headed toward a dangerous new chapter in African geopolitics? Thank you for watching. Till we meet again. Long live Sahel region. Long live Africa.